Ladies and gentlemen, it is not a Friday, but it is a Wednesday, and so it's time, this week anyway, for Steve Fezzik.
Whether it's at the sportsbook or anywhere else in the casino, he's always helping us find an edge. It's time for Fezzik.
It's time for Fezzik. The Fridays got on the screen, but we cut off Ryan's voice. How you doing, man? Steve Fezzik, everybody, the only back-to-back winner of the Hilton SuperContest.
Licking my wounds after yet another defeat. Correction! Humiliating defeat on the tennis court against Gil Alexander.
Well, you know, your serve looked good, though.
There's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? You know when your opponent's like more busy checking his scores than worrying about his strategy that you're probably not going to win that day.
Yeah. That's right. I was checking tennis scores the whole time. By the way, I'm checking tennis scores right now. Zumhor, 2 sets to love over Mepechi Perikar. That's going well. Hatchinoff and Offner on serve, down 2 sets to 1, though. 6 dogs in tennis. But the only 2 that I mentioned, they still haven't started, I don't think. Danilovic and Brooksby. I'm not sure if those have started yet. Okay, let's start with the Crackman segment from last week. Crackman was on here, and he was talking about, and he said NBA sides are unbeatable. And they took a lot of incoming. I, by the way, took some incoming from some of my cohorts here for not clarifying. And by the way, I accepted the incoming because I was like, you're right. In the crack hour, you know, we move pretty quick. And yes, it was on me to say, okay, unbeatable is a strong word. And I mentioned that yesterday when Carl Sack was on and Kelly when we had that discussion. So, but yeah, part of it's on me for not pushing back to some degree. But you know, Crack is taking a lot of incoming on this, and you wanted to say something about it.
Yeah, I'm going to push back on the people pushing back. I've been thinking about this because I mean, you're doing like a 3-minute discussion on each one of these topics.
Yeah.
And generally what he said is correct. Now, he could have said, probably should have said, in general, NBA sides, day of the game, are generally unbeatable when betting minus 110.
Yes.
All right? And the idea is that the market is so efficient that there's few and far between are the people that can beat it, especially as you approach post, especially when you're laying full vig. And famously, I used to tell you this about your baseball. You know, I'm fast asleep and Gil Alexander releases a baseball play at midnight. I'm getting up to bet that sucker on an overnight. Gil tells me who he likes 2 minutes before a game starts. I'm like, right. I'm playing poker. It's fine, you know, because it's so much harder to win at that point. So I'm going to give an analogy why Crack's right and all these internet tough guys that are like ready to pounce on anyone's misstatement are wrong here. If I said always blackjack, if I said always hit 14 against a 10, okay, it's what the basic strategy card says. All right. It's fine. I think it's fine for me to say that for general gambling advice. Now, it's massively wrong for the highest level blackjack players, which would jump all over me and say, Fezzik sucks at blackjack. Everybody knows in single deck, if you have a pair of 7s against a 10, it's basic strategy to stand. Everyone knows if you're card counting +3, you surrender if it's allowed. If it's like +5 or +6, you stand on the 14 against the 10. Well, but these are all exceptions to the rule. And so, in general, the overnight betting, a player suddenly out, there's a rogue number, you can lay -103. These are all exceptions to the rule. But in general, what Crackman said is true. How often do I ever, or does any of our group text, do we ever say on the day of the game, like an hour before, does like Chris Barafalika come and say, we got to go ahead and get down on this, you know?
Never.
Never.
Yeah.
Yes.
Never. And by the way, again, let me just accept responsibility too. Right in that moment, I assumed that people knew what we were talking about. I should not assume, right? By the way, if you're searching long enough for me to not be perfect at clarifying, you will be correct at some point. So yeah, what he meant, and I made sure to tell Carl, right? I was like, listen, there is no I hope you know, right? Carl, talking about Carl Sack, Aaron Rinning, all these guys who are great at betting NBA. I hope you guys know that he's not talking about you guys, right? Like that's not what he was saying. What he was saying was the general person who's just, you know, newish to sports betting, let's say, has only been doing it for a few years, whatever. You know, it's like Roxy telling me, Roxy Roxborough, the legendary Roxy Roxborough from Las Vegas Sports Consultants. I think I mentioned this the other day too. Once he told me, he goes, Gil, nobody beats the NFL. Nobody, ever. And I took that to me, right, and Roxy meant it this way, was Sure, you can beat it for a month, you can beat it for a year even, but over the long term, you are not. And what he's referring to is also the same thing, which is talking about doing it, when the market is as efficient as possible.
Exactly. They're not talking about Kirk Cousin touchdown props here. They're talking about, and the irony is that the group that was hypercritical of Crack, making that statement, they hit like 33% against the spread on their podcast last year in the NFL. Same thing, NFL sides, professing to have an edge, which of course it's not. I mean, it's just bad variance and some bad picks. But the point is, it's really hard to win against NFL sides and NBA sides. And then they're being critical of Crack, saying that it seems completely inconsistent.
Yeah, it brought up, you brought this up also, and this is, I don't know, I find this subject even more interesting to me, but maybe that's just me, which is you say there's something about gambling Twitter, and I don't know if this exists in other industries, but it's like if you're friends with the person, the presumption is everything this person does is pristine. If you're not friends with a person and you have some axe to grind or you're jealous of them or whatever it is that you don't like them, right? You will find anything you possibly can to just crap on that person.
Exactly right. So my haters are like, well, he won some contest, but that was 100 years ago, and he gives out some plays that are hard to find, and they're only at DraftKings and FanDuel or a few other books, and not at every book. So, but those haters never compliment me on anything, and I assure you, I mean, I have some gambling acumen. I finished third in the blackjack ball. I don't even play blackjack, It's like, 1 year. I have a good poker game. It's like you could learn something from me. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I'm going to misstate some things. But the point is, like, if you're just going to paint me as being an idiot at all times, you're probably the idiot.
Yeah. Well, okay. And I'll take it even, I'll remove you from the conversation. There was we should probably do this after the break, but there was a Bet Bash panel that you might have even been on a couple of Bet Bashes
with
ago.
Rovell?
With Darren Rovell.
Yes.
Now, Darren Rovell is not, for those of us who are bettors, right, and are immersed in this 24/7, 365, Darren Rovell is not a advocate of the industry or someone we would ever look up to or someone we would ever side with or anything of that nature. Like, he is just not one of us, in other words. But I will tell you, by the end of that panel, he was almost a sympathetic figure to me.
It was like
because everybody was going after him, and he actually said some stuff with that was like, you know what, he's right.
And Darren Rovell is not like on the spectrum of like good and evil. I mean, he wears the gray. He doesn't wear the black hat. You know what I mean? And so it was like Survivor Series 4 against 1, and they're just pounding.
Everybody was pounding
guy.
on him. And by the way, he was brave to be up there in the first place. Yeah. And one thing he said though, where I was nodding in the back. I'm like, he's right, and all y'all are wrong. Which was he was telling other panelists, he's like, you all assume that everybody you think is a winner, and that everybody you think is a loser is a loser. You guys don't know anything. And I was like, you're right. You're 100% right, and that's part and parcel with what we're talking about with all this. More with Fezzik on the other side, including him atop the Killer Sports NBA contest standings. That's next. This TNT coverage for the French Open is awful, he says. Tommy Paul on TNT over Iga and Emma. And True TV has a McEnroe cast with John and Patrick talking over whatever match is on. Awful. It's interesting with tennis coverage because I have a buddy who can't stand the tennis channel coverage either. He thinks they're always on the wrong match. Oh no, not tennis channel so much. When ESPN has a slam, he hates their choices of when they move on from one match to the other. I don't know who's making those decisions, but they are very curious at times. By the way, speaking of Iga, she is up a set on Emma Raducanu in her second round match. And let's see if we can get these other ones home here. Offner serving to knot it up at 2 sets apiece with Hachinov, and Zumhur up 2 sets and up a break in the third, looking to close it out in straights. By the way, one of the things, and I don't know if you have this in other sports, but in tennis, Steve Fezzik, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, joining us. If you ask me, what do you hate more, losing a match, losing a bet, or not having fired on a big dog that ends up manifesting, it's always the latter. It's like the stock market. Losing money on a stock or not buying long on something that soars.
Especially a 3-1, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So Martin, Kelly's going to laugh because he always says this is the scariest name to say on air. Martin Fucsovic is taking on the American Tommy Paul, and he's about to go up 2-0. And I did have numbers that suggested I should play him, and I didn't have the onions. Didn't have the onions. Stevie Fezzik, he's a contest player, ladies and gentlemen. Not only is he back-to-back Hilton SuperContest champs, back in the day, the only one who's ever won them back-to-back, but he's won multiple contests here in town. And then there's our little VSiN Killer Sports NBA contest, where we only have 3 games left now, and they all are in the NBA Finals. We've each had 35 plays, 20 in the first round, 10 in the second, 5 this round, and 3 coming up in the NBA Finals. 15 invitees from the great Carl Sack, and only 5 of us are still alive. Kelly, unfortunately, on screen here, mathematically eliminated, but Kelly gave it a heck of a run too. Me and Alex Christensen, Noops, we're kind of on life support because we're 2.5 back with 3 games left. Doug Kazarian now in 3rd place again. He's in 3rd, 2 games behind you. Zach Cohen, VSiN's own, 1 game behind you, and Stevie at the top, 22 and 13.
And
what could go wrong, Steve?
You should get like Bill Ady's daily report that he puts out at 3 a.m. So he interviewed me, and I gave him some of my contest tips. You hear all that time, he's a contest player. Well, what the heck does that mean? It's like being called like a global, leader in setting lines. What does that mean? I don't know. But what does being a contest specialist mean? Well, I explained what that means. Hey, by the way, speaking of contests, this Circa Survivor, one thing that no one ever talks about is there's going to be a Thursday game, and the Eagles are going to be laying 7 against the Cowboys.
Oh, I like this.
So now this is going to be controversial. If Philly wins, no big deal me getting in Survivor. You know why? Because I'll be losing going in. Okay, I can sign up after that Thursday game. Mm-hmm. So why do I really want to sign up if a bunch of people already have a W in front of them, especially with a $100,000 buy-in? But what if Dallas upsets Philly? And I know some of those people in that Gran Turismo have taken Philly already, and there's $100,000 or times 4. There's $400,000, bang, seeding the pot, if you will. All of a sudden, it becomes extremely attractive to enter the Survivor contest.
I don't think that's controversial at all. I think there's, by the way, I think that also, don't they have the rule where if you did pick Philly, you then you can re-up,
come back in,
right? So it's more money in the pot.
Well, maybe it's not controversial, but no one ever talks about it.
Oh, we've talked about it before.
Except for us.
Yeah, we have talked about it. I think now let me just clarify that first scenario where Philly wins that game. Are you going so far as to say then you won't enter?
Yes. I will not. There's no way I would enter the Gran Turismo.
Not Gran Turismo. I'm saying the regular Survivor.
I'll enter, but not nearly to the extent. Like literally, I'll max my entries. Based upon that. If Dallas wins, and I'll probably play like 3 of them if Philly wins.
So that's enough for it to alter your betting behavior. At that point. Interesting. That's interesting. So and by the way, this contest, you give contest advice like that, which is great for Survivor. But in this contest, you have a lot of NBA hardos that were invited to this thing. You don't know much, right?
Can't name a player.
Well, you can name a player.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Michael Jordan before? You can name a player, but you can't do much more than that. And so what would you say of your 35 picks? First of all, Stevie will 0 times will get the worst of it. We will 0 times.
One time I did. Like my second pick in the contest.
You got the worst of it.
Yes, because I really liked the under in the game, and I took a bad number because I said, I'll get a jump on everyone, try to get a game lead, and then I look at it and hardly anyone played the total except for me.
So removing your handicapping entirely. Well, you can't entirely because there's not every pick are you getting the best of it, right?
Not everyone, but right. I would say 60%.
So you're getting the best of it, and the rest of the time you're just aggregating other people's.
I put my own. Well, I put my own stuff because I hear that all the time because I do massively aggregate.
Yeah, the great aggregator,
and just it actually kind of gets me angry because like last night.
Well, we could call you something else, Stevie. That'll get more angry.
Yeah, and that'd probably be correct.
Yeah,
but the like last night, like boom, I saw the opener. And New York was at minus 170 at Circa. All right, $3,000 limit. I'm like, well, that's obvious. I'm going to lay minus 170, and I laid 4 also with the Knicks. Well, I can't aggregate when the line just comes up. I mean, obviously that's just me.
Yeah,
I don't have time to check with anyone. But I'm like, how the heck can the Knicks be laying 4.5 game 1 and then laying higher in game 2? And now I understand Indiana's probably a little bit better than the Knicks, but this is the world's greatest spot for New York to zigzag to a win here.
I think just as informative. But by the way, playing this, and I'm not going to win, right? Because I'd have to go 3-0, you'd have to go 0-3, and then everybody in between would have to falter as well.
You're extremely unlikely to win.
I'm extremely unlikely to win. But the point is of this, I think just this little case study of a contest, because it was a really condensed little contest as opposed to our football ones that are season long, it was very eye-opening in terms of forget you being good at a contest, because we know that about you. But we also learned that some people are not good at contests, right?
Doing everything wrong.
Right. I'm not casting shade because I just thought this was a very interesting thing for sports bettors to learn, right? But it's like, okay, you see that you're really good at handicapping, but there was a couple things. You'll see if you can add to this. There was, first of all, there was no regard for when to put in the picks. In other words, they'd put them in a day early almost.
And
right?
you can wait until an hour before. And why not get the injury information? This happens in all the football contests all the time. People like with their proxies,
right?
Or even before that, they want to play the Thursday game. So bang, they put it. I know my 5 plays. I'm going to put them in Wednesday night. You know, yes, there's people that have been successful in contests doing it, but you are so up against it.
You want to get as close to perfect information as you can.
Yes.
Which is as close to the deadline as possible. And the other thing was just simply it's not a disregard because then it sounds dismissive, but it's prioritizing your handicap over the best of it to an extent that might be seen as somewhat arrogant about one's own handicapping.
Yeah, so the Lakers are playing Minnesota, and the line's 2.5, and you take the Lakers plus 2.5, and then contest it's 3.5. Okay, so like you lay 3.5 with Minnesota, and Minnesota wins by 3, and if you would have bet it against on the board, you win. But if you played them in the contest, you lose. You can't win betting or in contests taking bad numbers. It will absolutely bite you in the butt.
Yeah, maybe not in the short term, but in the long term, it would bite you in the butt. And then, you know, I think it was really interesting to see that. And again, I'm not casting aspersions on anyone. I think everyone can learn from it. And so it makes sense why you, in all these contests in various sports, are so successful. Not late season stuff where then if you're down or you're up, you have to employ some game theory. That's different. That's its own category. Mm-hmm. But just generally speaking, to get to that point, why you are in contention. Even remember was it last year or the year before where people were like, Steve, you had a terrible year. You finished 24th. Right?
21st in the millions.
21st.
Because I was like 15-15 my last 30 picks, and I heard, Fezzik collapsed in the millions.
So I just think that's interesting. Now, will that work every single season? No, because there are some seasons where the best of it doesn't work out.
Right.
But those are the exceptions, not the rule, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I just think it was a fascinating exercise, and again, thanks to Carl Sack, we all had a tremendous time playing this, and it ain't over. Again, first prize $3,000. You have pledged it to the room attendants of Circa.
Yes, I figured that Mike Palm will probably maybe get tasked with figuring out how to do that administratively. I'm sure he's looking forward to that.
That'll keep him busy. By the way, second place is a $500 prize as well, but third place nothing. It's only first and second prize. Anyway, so that's the VSiN Killer Sports Contest. You can check it out on the website. What is it? VSiN.com/challenge, I believe, is the URL. For that, if I am not mistaken, if you want to follow along. 3 games left. That's it. 5 players still alive. We'll come back. Stevie has some thoughts on the Colorado Rockies, one of his favorite topics. We'll do that. We'll recap all the best bets. It's a numbers game at VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Brian Morianen. One of you will be getting... One of you, Fezzik probably, will be getting a call from jail if Dallas Philly ends up in a tie on that first Thursday night after he gets arrested for reckless driving trying to get to Circa. That's true. Jason Smith, will you ask Mark Borchardt to post his June most wins best bet again after you announce yours? He had the Phillies for May. Love the show. Keep up the great work. Yes, I will ask him to do so. And the numbers guys, the great aggregator? More like the great aggravator. Just kidding. Love Fez's insight. It's safe to say that Fez's specialty is optimal game theory. Yes, yeah, that's probably a good way of saying it. Let's get to our VSiN Best Bets because Fezzik has a bunch of baseball this morning and a hockey play. Best Bets, courtesy of G-Bank, the official bank of VSiN. By the way, we're going to hold off on the golf plays. For golf, just check out Long Shots with Matt Brown, Wes Reynolds, and our own Kelly Bidlin. I've got Jensen Brooksby here still to come on the men's side in tennis, and Olga Danilovich on the ladies' side. I don't believe either has started. I could be wrong about that, but hey, I'm doing a show. Jensen Brooksby on the men's side. against Sebastian Corda. Olga Danilovic against Danielle freaking Collins. My 3 College World Series plays, Vandy and Texas, both at plus 950 to win it all, and Northeastern, the long shot, at 125 to 1 to win the College World Series. Okay, let's go to Will Hill. Timberwolves tonight, plus the 8.5. Thinks OKC probably closes it out, but he'll take the Timberwolves and the points. And tomorrow night, he's laying it with the Knicks. He's also got Jared Young under 0.5 hits, because a pinch hitting situation is usually in the offing after a couple ABs. Sandy Alcantara under 17.5 outs. It's saying that Sandy Alcantara is being priced as the pitcher he was, not as the pitcher he is. Jacob Wilson from the Athletics, minus 170 to win Rookie of the Year in the American League. Leaflet and Luke Weaver, he took a shot at 15 to 1 for AL Reliever of the Year. Yes, it's actually an award, and you can actually bet on it at certain shops. This is from JVT. He's got Isaiah Hartenstein tonight, under 14.5 points plus rebounds. And tomorrow night, he's on the Pacers plus the points once again. And then there's the curious case of Steve Fezzik. Would you like to go through these? Let's start with hockey. You got the Stars tonight.
Absolutely.
Or not tonight, but tomorrow night.
Absolutely love the Stars. Talked to Scott Seidenberg about it, and they got murdered on the scoreboard, but not in the stats. And
two empty netters.
Yeah, and a home run spot for them now, down 1-3. So I'd be shocked if that line doesn't inflate, and I'd really be surprised if they don't win.
All right, and a lot of baseball today. You have some day baseball included. What do you got here?
All right, so we got Skeens and the Pirates. Now, I always bet Skeens first 5, but this is the one exception to the rule, because that Arizona bullpen, the Pirates, who can't score more than 4 runs in any game, scored 6 in 1 inning or more last night.
Yeah.
So we'll take Pirates full game, but we expect a slow start. First 5, under 4 in that same game, minus 130. Chalky, I'm on the Phillies. That number has come down, so you can get a better price. Rare case. Twins, Rays, 2 good pitchers. We'll go under 8. The Cleveland Guardians, you know what? I just think the Dodgers pitcher is absolutely donezo when I watched him, pitch last time out. So I'm going to fade him every time out. So I'll take Cleveland plus the 130. And, base winner, and you were talking about the White Sox.
Yes.
And what a great first 5 team they are for a terrible team. And so I will jump on them today, first 5 plus 175.
The Dodgers game is the first one to start. The Dodgers pitcher you were referring to, of course, is Clayton Kershaw, by the way.
Washed.
That's a 10-10 Pacific, 1:10 Eastern start there in Cleveland. Our best bets brought to you by G-Bank, the official bank of VSiN, each and every day. Each show, host, guest, sport, all of it courtesy of G-Bank, who's offering the trifecta right now. The $500 trifecta from G-Bank, First Bet, and VSiN. All you need to do is open a G-Bank Visa Signature credit card. In the first 90 days, deposit and play through $1,000 at First Bet to trigger the $500 trifecta. You'll receive $200 in cashback rewards on your G-Bank Visa Signature credit card. First Bet will then give you a $100 deposit match. And then VSiN completes the trifecta with a free VSiN Pro subscription through August 31st, a $200 value. That's the $500 trifecta from G-Bank, First Bet, and VSiN. Head to VSiN.com/GBank. That's VSIN.com/GBank. This one-time promotion is limited to customers opening a new account in response to this offer and will not apply to requests to convert existing accounts. Apply today. Terms and conditions apply. Okay, a few things to get to before we're out of here. One, you brought up the Gran Turismo moments ago. You're actually referring to the Circa contest that is actually titled the Grandissimo.
Oh.
Gran Turismo would be something else. By the way, whether the Eagles or Cowboys, let's just take that game out of it, the first game of the season. Are you intending to play this? And what do you feel the over-under is in terms of entries?
I'll go over under 14.5, and I'm probably not going to play because I don't like winner take all contests. I wouldn't play a poker tournament that was winner take all. So now when it's millions and it's $1,000 entries, it's you've got so much dead money. I have to do it, but I don't think it's going to be a lot of dead money in this contest.
No.
Yeah.
Groups, or do you think how many of those entries? Let's say it's 20 entries. What's the percentage? 50% will be groups. 60%.
Yeah.
12 of 20 would be
yes.
Groups. Okay. All right. Once again, $100,000 per entry in Circa's Derek Stevens' new innovation with the Survivor. We have the Survivor Classic with now a $15 million guarantee. But this new contest is $100,000 per entry.
Accolades
the
to
Grandissimo.
Derek. And yeah, what he said. Accolades to Derek, the entire team, and just what a great job they've done with all these contests.
Absolutely. And forced others to innovate, right? That's why we love, that's what Derek has done greater than anybody else, is that he has forced other old school Vegas folks to have to do better for the better.
Hey, maybe it's
contest.
a good idea not to put a rake on these contests when it's driving huge amounts of business to your property.
Exactly. Colorado Rockies, before we go.
Colorado Rockies, so the White Sox were, famously in the modern era, one of the worst teams we've ever seen. They won 41 games. The White Sox only got scored by 306 runs. Colorado's approaching 200. I mean, this team, I really think, like you talked about, I think we got to go over 36.5, like if that was offered. I don't know. I think they might only win 35 games, but it's the bookmakers have had enough. Yeah. Rocky under money. So I'm looking at a lot of these menus. It's not even being offered anymore.
Kelly and I were doing it live on air the other day. 29 are listed because we're like, okay, what it actually is, because we were speculating with Spore, what do you need to bet them? What would the number be need to be for you to go over on them? And as we're doing it, we're looking for what is the actual number. It's not listed.
Yeah, so it's like basically it fell off the radar. The season win number started at 59.5. Yeah. Jason Weingartner went over. Not his best work.
He did a mea culpa on that very quickly.
He's still the number one most profitable guest ever. Self-documented, but he does very well. And so when the plane hit 40,
are you quite done? Yes, go ahead.
When the plane hits 40, it's fallen below. The Rocky plane has fallen below the radar.
Yeah, well, now Eric Biggio reminds us that William Hill Caesars did have it up, but most books did not. Most books did not, and 39.5 was the number.
I'd go under.
Yesterday was the one I was like, oh, are they going to win a game here? They were, it was like went to extra innings. They got a run. They're up 3-2. No, it didn't work out. All right, and then before we go, a cereal hack, Stevie.
So take your cereal the night before and put it in the freezer. All right, you'll thank me. Take your Fruit Loops, take your Cocoa Pebbles, take your Peanut Butter Captain Crunch, put it in the freezer. Next morning, you put that cold milk on it, and it will turn into icy milk with the cereal, and it'll be the best cereal bowl you have ever had.
You child. You still do this at home?
Fireworks, Gil. Friday night, 7 o'clock at dusk at the Legacy Club.
You love fireworks more than anything. Okay. So when does and this is the last thing, because football season, obviously football is king. Do you prep, so Dr. Bob, right? Dr. Bob's a handicapper. Come July, right? Now, it's a little different with the transfer portal with college football now, so he has to wait. But with pro football, he is just he works harder than anybody I know. And there's a prep time before a season starts where he is just, you can't even get to him. Do you, as the type of bettor that you are, do you do extensive prep work? What do you do?
Yes, but it's completely different from Dr. Bob's approach because he's always going to be better. So I took out my notebook, and I'm sorry I can't find the pages, but I went through and I'm writing every college football season win number right now because I want to know what the openers are. Yeah. Like Tulsa, for instance. Tulsa's going to be a lot better. Why are they going to be a lot better? Because they opened 2.5, and it took a nanosecond for their total to move up to 3.3. So everybody pounded, even though they're tying up their money for 6 months, Tulsa over 2.5. So Tulsa is not going to be god-awful this year, and the market is showing me that.
Okay, so that's the beginning of your preparation, is what you're...
Yes.
Okay.
The market, just maniacal market awareness of where these numbers are being done.
And I know on a weekly basis, you have your printouts that you're
I've got my power ratings are good, but a lot of them are aggregated because I've got my opinion, but my opinion's only worth 3/4 of a point max.
Only sport you do power ratings on, college and pro?
Only sport.
Pro and college football.
Pro football only, not college football. I mean, I use someone else's college football.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And by the way, there's going to be some people who are like, oh, so that's there's no shame in that. You know what your strengths are and what sports. And
how the heck would I evaluate all these free agents and these rookies? I could stay up all night. I lack the acumen to be able to do so.
Thank you, Stevie. Appreciate it. Always interesting. Steve Fezzik, everybody.